If I told you one of the most influential American fashion minds helped shape the silhouette of modern glamour, worked with the biggest names in entertainment, and did it while navigating in an industry that didn't exactly make room for black women, would you know her name?
Have you ever wondered how the iconic Playboy bunny costume came to be? Well, it was created by none other than Zelda Wynn Valdes, a Black American fashion designer and costumer. In 1949, Valdes was commissioned by the founder and editor-in-chief of Playboy magazine, Hugh Hefner, to help create the first Playboy bunny costume. In 1948, Valdes opened a boutique in Manhattan, becoming the first African American to do so.
Today's story is exactly why the Black Fashion Archives can't just be about trends. It has to be about receipts. It has to be about the people who built the blueprint and then watched the mainstream act like it appeared out of thin air. And the woman that we're talking about today, she wasn't just dressing women. She was engineering confidence. She understood the body, the stage, the camera, and the room. She knew a garment needed to move, not just how it needed to look. She knew the power of the curve, she knew the authority of the waistline, and the language of a neckline. Her name is Zelda Wynn Valdes, and if you've ever seen a look and a thought, that's the kind of outfit that makes you sit up straighter, then you've already felt her impact, whether you realized it or not. Stay with me, because once you learn about what she built, who she dressed, and how she did it in a world that loved black style but rarely honored black creators, your whole perspective on American fashion history is going to shift. Zelda Wynn Valdes is one of those names that should land in your mind like a bell, very clear, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. A designer, a costumer, a businesswoman, and a visionary who understood that fashion wasn't just fabric. Fashion was power. Fashion was how you entered spaces that weren't built for you and still made people move out of your way. And that's what makes her story so important for this series, that she represents something we keep seeing when we pull back the curtain on fashion history. The most innovative work often happens on the edges, outside of the glossy pages and outside of the museum walls and outside the official narrative. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't major. It means that the world wasn't ready or wasn't willing to give proper credit. Zelda's work sits at that intersection where artistry meets precision, because she wasn't just guessing. She wasn't just doing cute outfits. What she was doing, however, was shaping silhouettes in a way that made women look and feel sculpted and, yes, very snatched, but also elevated. That's where her genius lives. She understood how to design for presence, not just beauty presence, the kind that makes a room go quiet for half a second when you walk in. Now, imagine the time period that she's working in. For a black woman to build a career in fashion, especially one that touched celebrity, stage, and high society, she had to be brilliant and strategic. She had to be unshakable. The talent was non-negotiable, but so was the stamina, because the industry loved the look. They loved the culture. They loved the energy. But when it came to hand out the recognition, suddenly there were excuses. And Zelda didn't wait for anyone to validate her. She built, she created her own lanes, and she made herself impossible to dismiss. One of the most powerful things about her legacy is how it bridges multiple worlds. She wasn't confined to one category. She moved between custom design and performance costuming in a way that made her impact feel both intimate and massive. Because when you dress everyday women, you're shaping personal confidence. But when you dress performers, especially those who define eras. You're shaping the cultural imagination. You are literally creating the looks that people remember for decades. And this is where it gets really interesting, because Zelda's legacy isn't just about who she dressed, it's about what her work represented. She was part of a generation of Black creators whose excellence didn't come with an easy path. Their success often required building their own institutions, their own clientele, their own networks, and their own credibility. And that was because the mainstream wasn't going to hand it over. That's why when we talk about archives, we can't just mean physical garments stored behind glass. We also have to mean the paper trail, the photographs, the interviews, the stage footage, the stories passed down in communities that knew who was responsible for all of that magic. Zelda's story lives in that kind of archive, the one that exists even when the mainstream pretends that it doesn't. And if we're being honest, that's what makes her name so urgent to say out loud today, because fashion loves to recycle silhouettes. Fashion loves to revive eras. Fashion loves to repackage old ideas as new. But what it does not always love to do is trace the lineage back to the people who created the language in the first place. Zelda Wynn Valdes designed with an understanding that clothing is communication. She knew that a dress could speak before you did. She knew that the right cut could announce your confidence, your sensuality, your control. She also knew how to create glamour that didn't feel fragile. It felt commanding. And for Black women especially, that matters, because historically, Black women have had to fight to control the narrative of how we are seen. Seen as elegant, seen as sophisticated, seen as complex, seen as worthy of high style without being reduced to stereotypes. Zelda's work pushed against that reduction. It insisted on the fullness of Black femininity, strength, allure, refinement, boldness, softness, without asking permission. So when you look at Zelda's legacy, you're not just looking at fashion, you're looking at cultural strategy. You're looking at how Black creators built beauty and glamour as both art and armor, how they made a way when there was no way.
In 1948, at the age of 47, Zelda made history by opening the first Black-owned boutique on Broadway in New York City, Chez Zelda. Her designs adorned the likes of Dorothy Dandridge, Josephine Baker, Ella Fitzgerald, Eartha Kitt, and many more. Zelda's journey began in her uncle's tailoring shop in a high-end boutique where she climbed the ranks from stock girl to the boutique's first Black sales clerk and tailor. A pioneer in the fashion world, Valdes crafted a new image for Joyce Bryant. In 1970, Arthur Mitchell sought Valdes's creative touch for the Dance Theater of Harlem, solidifying her influence on both fashion and dance.
How many iconic looks in American entertainment and style history exist because someone like Zelda understood the body, the moment, the message, and yet her name isn't in mainstream conversation the way that it should be? That's not accidental. That's the pattern. Which is why this series matters, because once you start seeing the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, then you start demanding something better from the way fashion history is taught, the way it's documented, and the way that it's celebrated. So if Zelda Wynn Valdes was new to you as she was to me, I want you to remember this feeling, this moment where you realize, wait, how did I not know her? That's exactly why the Black Fashion Archives exist, not to shame anyone for not knowing, but to expose what was systematically minimized, skipped over, or quietly erased. Zelda didn't just make clothes, she shaped culture. She helped define glamour on her own terms, and she stands as proof that Black fashion history isn't just a sidebar, it's a foundation. Now, I want to hear from you. Had you heard of Zelda Wynn Valdes before this video? And if you had, where did you learn about her? Was it a museum, a book, family stories, or something that you stumbled across by accident? Leave it down in the comments, because the comments from you guys become part of that archive as well. I want to thank you for stopping by this occasional commentary. And as always, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing if you found any value in this video. So until next time, I will see you in the next occasional commentary.